record right now. There we go.
Thank you. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Fillmore FPBGSA, and we are here today. So it's a special meeting for us, and we'll start off with our Pledge of Allegiance. And I've asked Director Medigan to lead us in on that. So go ahead.
Wait, sorry. Is it hanging on your side too, or is it just my side? Okay, never mind. I'm going to go for it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And next is our director's roll call.
Okay. Okay. Director Kimball,
Here.
Chair Long.
Here.
Vice Chair McFadden,
Here.
Director Minigan,
Here.
Director Pace,
Here.
Director Villaseñor.
Here.
Perfect.
Wonderful. We're all in attendance. So next is our public comment. Does anyone have any public comment? All right, I hear none, so we'll move to the approval of agenda. If there's nothing changed, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second, please? All right, so it's been first by Director McFadden and second by Director Villaseñor, I think. And if anything else, a roll call, please.
Okay. Director Kimball,
Aye.
Chair Long,
Aye.
Vice Chair McFadden,
Aye.
Director Minigan,
Aye.
Director Pace,
Aye.
Director Villaseñor,
I think she said aye. Her
Okay.
volume's not very
okay,
loud.
perfect. Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
So that
Thank
is
you.
Unanimous. And next up is our fiscal year 2022-23 budget and groundwater charges review. So I will hand this over to our executive director.
Good evening, board. Let me share my screen here. Let's see. All right. Now I'll share my screen. All right, are you seeing the presentation?
Looks good.
Yes.
Well, and before I jump into what we have on tap for the next fiscal year, let's do a quick review of the stuff that we accomplished with this year's fiscal year budget, 21-22. So as the board knows, the big lift in this fiscal year that finished was completing our initial groundwater sustainability plans. They were not perfect, and I'm sure that we have a few things that we'd like to change, but it was a very significant accomplishment. And that was the main issue that we finished in this current fiscal year that's ending. We also did our first annual reports for the water year October 2020 to September 2021. And those were both submitted to DWR on time by the beginning of April. We have I think, a very useful online groundwater database. I've had many occasions to use that and to look something up, and it's really, really nice to be able to tie to information on different wells and different layers that we have on there. So that is up to date. We made some progress on our monitoring wells. We have, by the end of the fiscal year, we have secured 2 projects for the primary wells that we're intending to put to improve our information near the important groundwater dependent ecosystem areas. And we also added several wells, basically to our network from wells that existed already via just some access agreements. So we actually have already improved our monitoring of the basin, and we'll gather that data and analyze it. And if we need to do some additional monitoring wells in the future, we have that opportunity. And we've stayed in good standing with DWR with our $1.5 million grant program. The two main projects that were included in that grant program were the development of the groundwater sustainability plans and the monitoring wells. So at this point, the monitoring wells bids for construction went out several weeks ago, and those are due in the near future. And so that's a good time to move to the coming fiscal year. So in the coming year, our big lift item is to complete the construction of our monitoring wells. That's has a budget line item of $600,000. As we've talked about before, this is not necessarily the best time to be going out to bid for monitoring wells because it is a particularly dry period in California, and well drillers are busy. And so the prices aren't going to be low. And we also have some lingering effects of global supply chain problems and war in a couple parts of the world. So we're hoping that our monitoring wells project stays within the $600,000 line item. We did include some contingency in that, but we have some flexibility. If we adopt this budget and things come in a little bit higher, we can make some adjustments to push some things that aren't absolutely essential. There is a significant portion of that well project that is covered by the GSP grant. We will be wrapping up that grant or the scope of work associated with that grant by the end of December 2022. So if you remember, we're constructing that one after the end of bird nesting season in mid-September, and hoping to have all the invoices in and paid somewhere around December. And then we have about 6 months to basically wrap up all the paperwork and invoices and all that for the grant. So that's the big lift in the coming year, is to finish that. In the first part of the calendar year 2023, we will be submitting 2 annual reports for the water year 2021-22. That's approximately $50,000 budget line item. And that will also be updating the online groundwater database with any kind of new data that's occurred during that year. If you recall, this last year, we had 2+ years of data that we had to add. So hopefully it's not quite as much of a lift this next time. We have further development of the Cienega Springs Enhancement Project. And that is, as this board is aware, the drought has a major impact on the GVE area there at the Piru Fillmore Basin boundary, and pumping in the basins does have an impact also. So this board gave us direction to work with the project proponents there to explore ways that we could perhaps improve the survivability of the flora and fauna in that area. And so we will be working with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, with UCSB, who is working on managing that project, as well as the next door property is owned by the Nature Conservancy. So we'll continue to work to see if we can develop a project that would enhance that project, and with the goal of getting enough done so that we could perhaps apply for grants, or we would be able to consider the next step in the next year's budget in spring of 2023. We also have a subsidence evaluation using DWR's data that they're taking from aerial data collection. And so DWR has said they will be doing that for the next year or two at least. I believe they have funding for a couple of years out. So they will share that data with us, and we would be taking that data, analyzing it, and this would be a technical memo that this board could consider. We have talked about in the past of an extra effort to identify, well, I skipped well permitting review. That is really this process that would be establishing our joint well permitting review process with the County of Ventura, who's the primary agency that has authority to issue well permits. But we have currently Executive Order N22 or N722 that is enforced during the time that we have drought conditions in the state. And then we also have Assembly Bill 2201 that would make something similar to that as far as well permitting, would make that permanent. So so it's important for us to develop that program as something that's as efficient as possible, and still meets the spirit of the executive order at this point. So we're hoping to get that done in the very near future. And that's just a rough estimate of the money that we might spend doing that. It may be less than that. Now I'll get on to the shallow domestic wells. We have identified that there are some in the area, and it did not look like we were going to see, even with multiple year droughts, it did not look like we were going to see domestic wells go dry. However, this is something that the board has expressed concern over. And so this would be a scope of work to really drill down, unintended, to identify these and to gather a little bit more information on them, maybe reach out to some of these property owners. And if there are some that we identify as most vulnerable, this is something that the board has discussed in the past, perhaps considering a program in which we could work on replacing some of those that would give us more flexibility, operating flexibility in the basin. So this would be the first step to better identify those and gather as much information as we can. We have some money earmarked for grant applications. So we have the Sustainable Groundwater Management grants that are coming up later in this year. We're assuming there may be other grants to which the board would like us to apply. So this would be some consultant help to package the grant applications. And then we have some money earmarked, probably mostly for legal help on chasing down some of the non-responders or non-reporters or non-payers. It is time for us to follow up on some of these, and it's going to probably cost us a little bit of money to do that. So we wanted to make sure and earmark something for that. Besides that, really everything in the budget that's before you and was included in the agenda package is fairly straightforward. The current groundwater charges that have been in place since 2019 are $12 an acre foot, and we're proposing at this point to stick with $12 per acre foot. And I did my best to condense this budget. So if we end the current fiscal year 21-22 where we think, then we should be able to accomplish all the tasks that we just ran through in the scope of work for the agency, and still end up with a little positive balance at the end of the year. One note on the grant is it has been taking the state about 6 to 9 months to reimburse us for any one invoice. I believe we have an invoice that we just submitted, invoice 12, And we have 2 other invoices that we're hoping to get paid, but those are for expenditures that date back, the earliest of them, almost a year, I believe. So, so we have to watch that. We do have some flexibility if cash flow becomes a problem, but we've taken a look at cash flow as well as the scope of work, and so we believe that that's going to work. This is a workable budget. It includes the major scope items that your board has talked about. We've attempted to include most of those, and we do have some flexibility. Say if the monitoring well comes in higher than expected, we can either cut back on the scope on that. For example, if we absolutely had to, we could do a single completion monitoring well out there on the west end of the Fillmore Basin instead of doing the multiple completion. Or we could, if it's just a little bit over, we could perhaps push some of the other work items that aren't required to be done and let those move into the next fiscal year. So this is we feel like we have a decent workable budget before you, and we have stuck with the commitment of staying at the $12 per acre foot, and we can evaluate at this time next year. We'll give you a report mid-year, and so you have before you a budget, a work plan, and a proposed groundwater extraction charge, and just looking for any comments or feedback from the board on this.
Tony, I've got my hand raised, but I'll just
Okay.
jump in.
Go ahead, Ed.
First of all, thanks, Caroline. First of all, I really appreciate you getting creative, sharpening your pencil, and honoring the commitment that I feel that we made to the assessment payers. That's very important. It's not an easy time for anyone, and so I think this is very helpful. And that's all. I'm just really impressed with what you've done.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions, comments about the work plan, the budget, the extraction charges?
No, I'd only just echo what Director McFadden has said about keeping our rates to our pumpers and honoring that commitment, and especially considering the constraints currently, being creative and affording us flexibility as we move forward in the new year. Thank you, Tony.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Tony,
I would agree on that completely. So thank you.
I think the next challenge, Tony, which I will not help you with, is I think the assessment payers are expecting to drop down to $4 at some point. So good luck with that.
Well, we may be able to do some of that depending on how this monitoring well comes in. If we can finish that on time and we can get reimbursements from TWR on time, it may take us a little while, but these doing $1.2 million in GSP planning over a couple of years and $600,000 plus monitoring wells, that's a pretty big task that the agency has taken on, and we have a fighting chance of getting the monitoring wells done. So I think we will have an opportunity to drop the fee down, depending on what the board's direction is on future projects.
I am disappointed with the state not paying their bills in a timely manner. I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, but it seems a little bit long to be having a collection out for a year. And is there anything that we can do about it?
Caroline, I think it's a case of the same number or similar number of employees in DWR's grant management group and the legislature and governor pushing to get money out. I think they're just swamped with, probably in a good way, because they're trying to get grant money out, but there isn't an entire building full of people who are doing this. So I get the impression that they're just really having a hard time getting this done. And this board has seen how responsive Eddie Petch has been. He attended many of our meetings, and I'm not sure if there's much we could do besides the state hiring more people to work in that unit.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because when you hear that they're flush with money, but yet we haven't gotten paid, it's always hard to hear, because I know we're trying to squeeze as much as we can to get this done, and it's state mandated. So appreciate that. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, but the state also didn't successfully do it on the unemployment program, and they're probably pretty sensitive about making sure that it's all papered, and that just takes time. So I would say, hopefully,
Yeah,
the challenge we will face in reducing the charge is how much work we have to do on the GSP, which will probably come in the fall, in the 23-24 fiscal year, I would think. And hopefully it's not extensive, and we can keep, we can reduce it and keep the projects funded. So
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry, Gordon, you can
no,
finish. Unfortunately, DWR has been notorious with paying late. I mean, their standard wait time was 6+ months before Sigma even got onboarded. So yeah, I mean, a year is frustrating, but I mean, 6 months is pretty standard for that agency, unfortunately.
yes, and I just wanted to make those comments so that our ratepayers actually understand that we're working within our limits and trying to do the best we can as working with the state, and that there are delays from them. But we do appreciate the partnership. Just need to get those bills paid.
and we hope that whenever you're in Sacramento, Kelly, you'll remind them of the additional costs that go with, if we have to finance that 400,000 effectively for either on the back of our ratepayers and they pay the interest rate, or we pay the interest. It's money that goes out of the system and doesn't do anything for sustainability.
I agree. All right, any other comments on this? If not, then I need a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Chair Long, I would make that motion. Do we need to formally go into a public hearing, or is this the public hearing portion of the meeting?
Oh, thank you. I will open up public hearing. And is there any public comments today? I see no hands raised. Has any emails or phone call? Okay, then I will close the public hearing with no comments. And then I will ask for a motion on this item. Thank you.
And I will make that motion, I would say with pleasure, but with thanks to the staff for putting everything together. So I will move that we accept the 2022-2023 budget and groundwater charges as presented by staff this evening.
Thank you. And can we get a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been first by Director McFadden and second by Director Minigan. Roll call, please.
Director Kimball,
All right,
Chair Long,
Aye.
Vice Chair McFadden,
Aye.
Director Minigan,
Aye.
Director Pace,
Aye.
Director Villaseñor. Aye. Perfect.
All right, that motion is approved. And before I adjourn, Eva, do you want to say anything about tomorrow's event?
Yes, we will see you at El Pescador in Fillmore at 5 p.m. Okay.
All right, to celebrate
then.
our GSA right? And two special people.
And retirement.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Looking
Chair
forward
Long,
to it.
if I can, just as
Mhm.
this is Director McFadden's last meeting, I believe. I'd like to say thank you for all your contributions, and they've been invaluable. You worked really hard for us. You spent a lot of time and effort, and it's much appreciated, and it will be much missed. But we will think of you enjoying your grandchildren and the fishing.
Yeah.
I have to
Thank
say,
you.
it's been a pleasure working with this board. I think we've done a great job working together, serving all stakeholders. Even though I'm partial to assessment payers, we have served all stakeholders. I think we've been very inclusive. I think we've discussed even touchy subjects, both on the board level and committee level, with patience and understanding. And I've really appreciated that. It was a very professional board. And leaving the board is certainly bittersweet, but I appreciate that I've learned from, and I've been inspired by everyone in staff and on this board. So I want to thank you very much. And my new background is taken from my back porch up in Sitka. So there you go.
That's not fair.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Teaser.
Beautiful.
A little bit more water there.
Amazing.
Oh
Water.
yeah, more water. So we can see the herring spawn, we can see the whales going after the herring, and play with our granddaughter at the same time. So it's not all bad moving.
It's great.
Oh, well
So
done.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, and
You.
we'll say more tomorrow, but I didn't realize this was gonna, maybe I tried to ignore the fact that this is your last meeting, but really just appreciate your dedication and commitment to our board and all of our community. Just really, thank you so much.
Thank you,
All
much
right.
appreciated.
And with that, is there anything else anyone would like to state before I close and adjourn our meeting to June 16th? All right, with that, have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you so much.
See you tomorrow.
See you
Good
tomorrow.
night.
See you tomorrow.
Good
Good night.
See you
Party
tomorrow.
time tomorrow. I'm trying to get out.
Yeah.